Good morning, everyone. So great that you're all joining us today. And as always, I am so delighted that you have decided to spend part of your day here with our spiritual community in Ukiah, California. Um, as always, I am Reverend Dr. Candice Becket, and it is my honor to be facilitating this service. And I know that somewhere in this message, in the treatment, in the music, that you will receive the good that you are seeking, the reason that you came here today. The answer is also here today. So just sit back and relax. And we're going to start with our opening treatment, which today will be given by Victoria Wright. So Victoria?
Unmute. Good morning. Let's take a deep breath. Let it out. And know with me, I am one with the divine. Being centered right here in this moment, I know all is well. I relax into knowing that there is one power in the universe. And I surrender to it in knowing and allowing myself to consciously connect, realizing that I am absolutely one with the divine presence at all times, in any place, right now. We are one. I feel this oneness with all. There is ever and will be a wave of beauty, love, simplicity, and health. My life is perfect in God right now. And in thanksgiving, I release my word into the divine oneness, knowing that all is well in my world. And all is right. All is unfolding as it should be in co-creation with the Spirit of God. And in thanksgiving, I release my word to God. And I breathe in the wonder that I can feel of its presence. And with knowing that this is already so, I let it go and know that it is so for all of us. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you. It was really lovely. Okay, so now we're going to have some special music from Mary Buckley. Mary?
Thank you, Candice. A little background on this song. You're probably aware of the Sanskrit term namaste, which means literally, I bow to you. It's usually translated or interpreted as the divine in me salutes the divine in you. And a couple of years ago, I went to a women's music weekend where there was music in the air and laughing and people having a good time and crying and supporting each other. But in one smaller circle, one of the women said, I feel like an imposter. You know, everybody's having such a good time and all I can feel is aloneness. And I thought, well, you know, we can say that's an illusion, but we still feel that way sometimes. And if we could acknowledge that to each other, wouldn't it help? You know, wouldn't it just take care of that and help us get past all that? So I took the namaste concept and sort of turned it on its head, or a little sideways anyway. This song is very simple. I hope you'll sing along, muted, and it's just one short line and it repeats, and then one word changes and it repeats, and then one word changes again and it repeats. So it's also a zipper song, so I invite you to join in, like unmute yourself toward the end of the repeat and contribute a word if you'd like to, as it rolls around again, and we can put that word in, zip it in. So it goes, the aloneness in me greets the aloneness in you. Namaste. The aloneness in me greets the aloneness in you. Namaste. The grieving in me greets the grieving in you. Namaste. The grieving in me greets the grieving in you. Namaste. The music in me greets the music in you. Namaste. The music in me greets the music in you. Namaste. Does anybody else have a word to contribute? If not, the what?
Please.
The healing in me greets the healing in you. Namaste. The healing in me greets the healing in you. Namaste.
The imagination.
Oh, nice. The imagination in me greets the imagination in you. Namaste. The imagination in me greets the imagination in you. Namaste.
The beauty.
The beauty in me greets the beauty in you. Namaste. The beauty in me greets the beauty in you. Namaste. The
Peace.
peace, the peace in me greets the peace in you. Namaste. The peace in me greets the peace in you. Namaste.
Stillness.
The stillness in me greets the stillness in you. Namaste. The stillness in me greets the stillness in you. Namaste.
The humor.
The humor in me greets the humor in you. Namaste. The humor in me greets the humor in you. Namaste. The divine in me greets the divine in you. Namaste. The divine in me greets the divine in you. Namaste. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful. Probably could have just done that for the whole time.
Did you write that, Mary?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Although I don't think I ever actually wrote it down. Well,
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, good morning. And I also want to begin this morning with a line from a song. I as always, started my morning in Santa Rosa, and then went to San Jose. Now I'm here. But the song that was the opening song for the Santa Rosa service today was by Janice Stanfield, and she's been writing New Thought music for a long time. But this one line just so stuck with me. And so here it is, something to contemplate. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. Isn't that great? So I was just thinking, so what we're about today is doing good, and just kind of keep checking into that, because the world needs you to be doing your good and doing it the best you can. But my topic today is the way I see it. And I want to begin with a story. The story is from Africa. That's as close of a reference as I could get. And it's called The Red and Blue Coat. So once there were these two boys, and they were great friends. They were determined to remain loving, supportive, caring friends forever. So when they grew up, they each got married and they each built their own homes, but they did it facing each other, had their homes facing each other with just a small path that went between their houses and between their farms. So one day, one of the mischievous people, the prankster, the trickster of the village, decided to play practical joke on them. So he designed and dressed himself in a two-color coat that was divided right down the middle, so that one side of the coat was red and the other side of the coat was blue. Well, the trickster wore the coat and walked along this narrow path between the two houses, making sure that the two friends could each see him as he passed. And the trickster made enough noise that they indeed did look up from the farming that they were doing and looked in his direction as he passed them by. At the end of the day, one of the friends said to the other, "Wasn't that beautiful red coat that man was wearing? Have you ever seen anything like it?" Well, the other friend said, "Well, as a matter of fact, no, it was a blue coat. I saw the man very clearly walking between us," said the first one. "His coat was red." "You're wrong," said the other. "I saw it too, and it was blue." The first man insisted, "I know what I saw. The coat was red." The second replied angrily, "You don't know anything. It was blue." They kept arguing about this just over and over, insulting each other, their intelligence, their eyesight, everything. And they just were in such a heated argument that they began to actually throw things at each other. And as they got closer and closer, they started hitting each other and rolling around in the dirt. Just then, the trickster returned and he faced the two men who were punching and kicking and shouting at each other. And they are shouting things like, "Our friendship is over." So when the trickster is directly in front of them, they see, oh, from the front. And the trickster began to laugh at their foolishness and at the silliness of what was going on. And as he did this, the two men looked up, saw that one side was red and the other side was blue. The two friends then stopped fighting, stood up, but started screaming at the trickster. "We have lived side by side like brothers all of our lives, and it is all your fault that we are fighting. You have started a war between us." To which the trickster smiled and replied, "Don't blame me for this battle. I did not make you fight. Both of you were wrong, and both of you were right. Yes, what one saw was factually true. You are fighting because you only looked at my coat from your own point of view." So that's where the story ends. And what I started thinking about when I was reading that story over the last few days was how many different points of view there are in our world right now. To wear or not wear a mask, to vaccinate or to not vaccinate, to reopen businesses, schools, theaters, or not. And these are just the really obvious ones. Others, though we may have engaged in them, aren't quite as obvious. Things like, my way of thinking is better than your way of thinking. My politics are more correct than your politics. My way of eating is better than your way of eating. My religion is better than your religion. My country is better than your country. And very much like in the story, sometimes the different point of view is with a loved one, is with someone that we really care about. But what I've noticed that most of the time it's with someone that I don't even know. I'm like arguing with the television, the newscaster or whatever. And sometimes I'm arguing just in my head. The person is a present, but it's somebody I don't honor. I would love to say I don't let their opinions touch me, but obviously they do. So what I started to realize is that I'm having these eternal internal struggles and arguments with a lot of people that I don't even talk to. And sometimes I just want to avoid the conflict because I have a different point of view. So I just leave it. So for me, there is kind of a bottom line here. And this is it. If I know, if you know who you are, the different points of view, the different opinions of what people think about you will not bother you. When you know who you really are. If you know who you really are, the different points of view, the different opinions of others will not cause you to make stupid choices. And if you know who you are, the misrepresentation of your character cannot steal your joy. So I also, when I was thinking about all this is not that I slough it off or that I'm asking you to slough it all off, because there is a thing. Well, the Buddha talks about that maturity is learning to walk away from people and situations that threaten your peace of mind, your self-respect, your values, your morals, and your self-worth. So I think that's equally important. This goes back to, not condoning misbehaving or hurtful things. But while keeping all of that in mind, we must also remember that most of us are going to have different points of view, different opinions that don't really speak to the truth of who we are, much less to the truth of who the perceived other is. So for me, this calls for some really deep listening, willingness to ask questions for more information, not to promote my own point of view, but questions that really allow me to try to understand more completely where the other is, this is also a way that we walk in the other's shoes, even if it's just for a minute. There is a saying that you have the power to say, this is not how my story will end. So I would like to add to this. This is not how their story is necessarily going to end. This is not how our story is going to end. But most importantly, this is not how my story is going to end. That at any point, at any time, I have the ability to re-enter my own heart, my own soul, remember the truth about myself, and be lifted up into a conversation where I can see more. Just want to tell you really, I just also saw this today. It's from San Jose. But David Bruner was talking about points of view. And so in his sanctuary, he stood and he's looking in one direction. And so what he could see, his point of view was a drum set. And so I'll do it just where I'm sitting right now. So in front of me, there's a computer screen, there's a lamp, there are these kind of goldish color, there's some artwork. And I can sit here and go, well, this is really nice. I have my whole computer set up. I have something pretty to look at. But then I kind of go to, but wouldn't it be nice if I had more room? And the truth of it is that I do have a lot more room, but this point of view is limited to this. Now, if I'm to turn around and push that screen over and over, I have a lot more room. So I think it's important that we take that time to look around, to take in what is actually happening here, not just this, and particularly when we go into our emotions and our thinking, to not limit ourselves to this is the only way to think, to believe, to be, to interpret, that there are other ways. And if we're truly going to become this world that works for everyone, we need to remember that it's everyone, not just my point of view. So many believe that we are shaped by our environment, which includes our relationships, how we were raised, who raised us, where we went to school, all of that, that we were shaped by that. And on some levels, we were. However, we shape our environment and our relationships by our beliefs. I found a quote by Bruce Lipton, and he writes about the physical fact that our cells and our genes respond to their environment, which we know. Like if we're all right now getting vaccinations, which is very physical level, and that is our cells, our genes are going to respond to this new environment. And we could go lots of places, going outside and smelling the flowers can up my energy. So I am affected by my environment. But he also goes on to say that the environment determines what out of the infinite possibilities present can manifest, shall manifest. But he goes on to say that, in fact, this when he first came up with this, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, it was very shocking to a lot of people in the world. But he started to note that the environment of a gene is the thinking, or how we would say it, the consciousness of the person with the gene. In other words, you are what you think and what you give your attention to. So a consciousness of love can change everything. I think that's a really important point. And if I go back to my red and blue coat story, part of what we know is that these two were lifelong friends. And if they had been able to not want to win an argument and just stayed in that place of love, how that might have changed things for them. And I just, I think it's important that we start to look at how we can alter our point of view. And for some, what I've run into in my recent past is that there are some people that don't appear to want to change their point of view, period. And so there is this little bit of a lot, but what can I do? And there's a beautiful quote about, and I won't get this right, but you'll get the essence of it, is that there was a group of people and they drew a circle around themselves and left me out. So I drew a bigger circle and brought them in. I think that's part of what this is about for us and for our lives, is that we need to allow ourselves to have a bigger perspective, a bigger point of view. So my challenge for you this week is to take some time and imagine, or maybe even write down, how you want your story to be, how you, not so much how you want it to end, but how do you want that to be? How important is your point of view? And like I, with with that line from the song, I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. This would be good. This would be a way to start to reach out in ways known and unknown to us right this second and look at how I want to be. How do I want my story to be? How do I want people to see me? And then to act accordingly, and to keep it in our prayer, to keep it in our minds all the time. And sure, sometimes we get distracted, but that's why we come here, is to remind one another that there is a great beauty, a great gift, and a great joy that each of us has to offer. So let's do that. So take a deep breath. And if you want to close your eyes and just know with me right now, I'm going to give this treatment in the first person because I really need to hear these words, feel them in my heart. So as I say the word, I just feel it in your heart, hear it in your own voice in your head. As together, we know that God is all there is. In all time, in all space, in all circumstance, there is only one thing, and that thing is God. There is no thing outside of it. There is no thing to contradict it. There is no thing other than itself. And this includes me, it includes all others. So right here, right now, this moment, this day, I realize all that I am is a reflection of the love, the beauty, the perfect wholeness of God. In this awareness, I look with God eyes and I see clearly. What appears to end, in truth, is a new beginning. What appears to say no is, in truth, a new opportunity. I know that I can look and find an infinite amount of ways that will always move me forward on my spiritual path. Any and all of the ways that I choose serve me in discovering my highest and best. So therefore, I can move in the world at my highest and best. I can see the world and every individual in it at their highest and best. And so I gladly, lovingly walk my path, knowing that from here I see the demonstration of God, of good in all things, in all people, in all situations. I know that God is there in it all, for there is only God. As I accept this for myself, I accept it for all beings everywhere, known and unknown, seen and unseen, great and small, in the absolute recognition that all beings walk a path that only moves us forward. And so once again, I know that I cannot do all the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. And so individually, collectively, we go about doing the good. And so I release these words, feeling their truth, allowing it to lift my heart, my mind, as I let it be so. And so it is. So another deep breath. So now's the time for our collection. So I first of all just want to thank all of you for being willing to continue to share from your good, from your abundance with the center. It is only through your generosity that we continue on. And I know that everything that we do is a blessing. So I'll put up our affirmation. So please say with me right now, divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and visions we share. So it is. Okay. So I just have a couple of quick announcements. And first, of course, we are still trying our best to support building bridges, the homeless shelter here in town. So Teresa Staber has been really great about being willing to be a collection center. And if you want to talk to her, or you can drop things off at her house. You can also drop things off at Trudy Morgan's house on Mill Street, and they'll make sure that your items get to the shelter. You can also drop them off at the shelter, and if you just go during the day, and you don't even have to get out of your car. You just call in, somebody will come out and they'll unload your vehicle, and it's pretty easy. So that's one. The other one, I shared this with the board last week, and I'm really excited. And I also put some of this in the newsletter, so you might have already heard about this. But I was approached by CSL, Centers for Spirituality, our parent organization, and I was asked if I would be willing to support a senior ministerial student to do a practicum, and I agreed. So we will be, and soon, hopefully I'll be able to actually introduce you to Kit Holmes. And and by senior, what it is, it takes to go through the ministerial training program that CSL has together. It takes somewhere between, I think if you were really motivated who might be able to do it in 3 years. Most people take 4 or 5 to get through all of the required courses. And part of what is required is that they fulfill practicums, which means that the students go and they are, in a perfect world, they would sort of also be shadowing a minister that is in their field, what it is that they want to do. They would shadow them. And of course, right now that's not possible. So practicums have gotten very creative. But Kit is right now, she is in her last year. In fact, she graduates in May from ministerial school. But right now she is a licensed practitioner, but she's currently serving as a music director at one of the Unity centers, and Unity and CSL have a very close working relationship. So that's where she is right now. And she's just outside of Austin, Texas. So she may show up on one of these Zooms one of these days, but she's probably not going to show up in Ukiah. So like I said, she's a senior at the School of Spiritual Leadership at Mile High. So she's actually doing all of her courses through that is in Colorado. And like I said, she's when I spoke to her last week, she's really excited about doing a practicum for us. And so what she's offered to do, because just in us kind of throwing some ideas out, we had 2 or 3, but the one that kind of got both of us pretty excited is she's going to be creating a list of other seniors, so other people that are about to graduate, and who are also needing things to fulfill practicum requirements. And she's going to help them out by scheduling them as guest speakers. So hopefully, and within the next couple of weeks, we're going to start seeing, because she's going to schedule them, she's going to talk to them, she's going to make sure that they're ready. And particularly if these are people that are looking to create a church, a center, then that this is a good place for them to look at that. So hopefully they'll be speaking at our virtual services, and I'll still probably be online for all of those, just kind of emceeing, I guess. And this is only for a couple of months. So right this minute, I haven't talked to her in the last few days, but I know she has started working on it. So I don't know. So just be ready to hear some new people. And part of the excitement for us is that, maybe one of them will fall in love with us, and we'll fall in love with them, and we'll find our new senior minister in this group. So I don't know that I have a whole lot more details than that, but I just wanted you to know, just in case, like next week somebody else is speaking. That's why. And then just also to keep this as part of your daily spiritual practice, is recognizing that we're going to have some really wonderful new points of view and new ways of thinking and seeing. So like I said, and these won't just be from Mile High, because we did talk to Kathy Hearn, and Dr. Kathy is in charge of all of the schools of spiritual teaching, whatever that's called. And there's like 5 or 6 of them, but I think all told there's probably 30 that are about to graduate. And so we wouldn't be able to even hear that much. But if we have a list, then we can also continue to schedule these people as they're trying to move forward. Kit is already kind of has her plan for her ministry, so she may speak for us once, but she probably isn't going to be here. She's kind of got her vision of where she wants to be. But I also know the plans change. So just keep an open heart and an open mind, and get excited with me about the possibility of discovering somebody that could potentially be our new minister. So that's really it. So Mary, do you have a closing song for us? Mary Buckley?
I do. um, this song is called Key to the Universe. Lofty title. It was actually based on a quote by Swami Beyondananda. Some of you may have come across him, a very funny and spiritual guy. Um, and it was co-written with Wendy Patterson from Anderson Valley. She's kind of reclusive, lives out in the hills outside Boonville, but one of my favorite songwriters, so it was really fun to write this with her. It's very short, so I'm going to sing it twice through. There is no key to the universe. I have looked, but I never have found. I've looked outside, and I've looked inside, underneath and all around. Is it in the ocean or in the desert? Or maybe deep in the woods, in the cities, in the eyes of other people. You know I'd find this key if I could. But there is no key, and I'll tell you why. 'Cause there is no lock, so don't even try. Finding that key, don't look anymore. It's already open, just step through that door. It's already open. Step through that door. There is no key to the universe. I have looked, but I never have found. I've looked outside, and I've looked inside, underneath and all around. Is it in the ocean or in the desert? Or maybe deep in the woods? Is it in the cities, in the eyes of other people? You know I'd find this key if I could. But there is no key, and I'll tell you why. 'Cause there is no lock, so don't even try. Finding that key, don't look anymore. It's already open, just step through that door. It's already open. Just step through that door.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
So
I should,
beautiful.
I should say the original quote, which I didn't want to give away in the beginning, was the bad news is there's no key to the universe. The good news is it was never locked. The great
Well,
quote.
it's great. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. I'll probably be taking that myself pretty soon. So thank you so much. And thank all of you again for coming and spending a little bit of time with us. And just know that you are loved. Namaste.